Ethan sat under the fluorescent lights of his publishing office, editing manuscripts written by others. The same coffee-stained mug, the same sentences that weren't his. He watched the city lights blink beyond the glass, wondering if this life was all there was. That night, Ethan walked home through the empty streets. The city hummed quietly around him, distant traffic, neon reflections in puddles. In a bookstore window, he saw a novel. He had once dreamed of writing a story like that, but that dream now sat dusty and abandoned inside him. Standing there, he realized this wasn't the life he wanted. One day, with trembling hands and a burning heart, he handed in his resignation letter. In a cramped apartment with creaky floors, Ethan cleared a space beside a drafty window, placing down a secondhand desk. This would be his new world. He wrote late into the nights. Words flowed, but so did doubts. He submitted his first manuscript, heart pounding with hope. Rejection. Then another and another. He felt defeated, the weight of failure pressing down on him. The letters piled up, a tangible reminder of his struggles. One cold evening, his wife stood at the threshold with tears streaming down her face. "I can't watch you suffer like this anymore," she whispered. Without another word, she stepped into the night. Ethan sat alone in the dim apartment, realizing the cost of his ambition. The silence was deafening. A question whispered through his mind, was it still worth it? The dream that once burned so bright now flickered faintly, weighed down by loneliness, doubt, and exhaustion. One day, Ethan attended a free community seminar. He didn't know what he was looking for, perhaps direction, perhaps hope. When speaker named Dr. Celine took the stage, her presence quieted the room. Ethan sat in the back listening to Dr. Celine speak. Her words resonated deeply with him. Then, Dr. Celine began to tell a story, a tale of perseverance. Her voice was soft, but the room leaned in. Ethan did too, his breath catching without him realizing. Long ago, in a small farming village where every crop depended on the rain, lived a young man named Loran. The villagers followed tradition, planting the same seeds year after year, praying always for the rain. But Loran was different. He watched the sky, the soil, the patterns of drought. Loran spent his days in the fields and his nights learning everything he could about crops that could survive without rain. He traveled to nearby regions, collecting rare seeds and learning about plants that could survive drought. Sometimes he traded tools or food just to bring back one pouch of seeds. Years passed. Loran tried and failed again and again. Seeds withered, stalks broke. Sometimes the earth refused to answer at all. But each season, he returned to the fields with new ideas, new hope, and dusty hands. The villagers, who once simply ignored him, now mocked him. "Farming without water, foolish boy," they laughed. But Loran, though his heart ached, kept working. Years of failure brought not just doubt, but poverty. Loran sold tools, skipped meals, and mended the same old tunic season after season. Yet he still determined to try again. Some plants, it seemed, wilted slower. A few leaves stayed green longer. Even in failure, he noticed patterns and recorded them with care. Then one year, the rain simply didn't come. The sky remained cloudless, the earth began to crack, and the air turned heavy with dust. Crops failed, wells dried, panic spread. The village, once green and orderly, turned brittle and desperate. But in one corner of the village, Loran's strange plants still stood green and alive. "How?" They asked. Loran only smiled and handed them seeds. The village replanted together, not waiting for rain, but learning from Loran's years of quiet work. The drought passed, but what remained was something stronger. Roots planted in wisdom. The village, once desperate, now flourished with green fields. Loran had not given up, even when no one believed, even when the soil was barren. Now, as children learn by his side, his quiet persistence blooms into something lasting. As Selene concluded her fable, the room fell silent. Ethan sat still among the audience, his eyes fixed on the stage. Something in her words stirred a quiet fire in him. After the event, Ethan stepped out into the cool evening. The streets were quiet, but his thoughts weren't. Celine's story echoed in his chest like a bell. That night, Ethan returned home with renewed resolve. And when he finished a manuscript, he sent it out into the world, again and again, no matter how many times it came back. A few years later, Ethan's novels began to sell. At his latest book launch, he stood in front of a crowd, holding up his newest work, cameras flashing and questions flying. One day, Ethan made a speech at a literary symposium. "Follow your dream, remember your beginning, and never let go," he said,